Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever and whatever time it is that you're joining us and watching from. This is your free monthly class with Minecraft Studio, and I'm here today doing your monthly class. Of course, sometimes it's me, it's Diane, whoever else is sharing new content with you. But of course, this time I wanted to focus on something, for one, because it's an incredible price at the moment on the website to jump over and have a look, but also we're heading towards the festive season. And Minecraft Studio is something that I'm using day in and day out, literally every single day, not only in my work, but in my spare time with whatever I'm creating. Now, at the moment, I'm thinking about Christmas. And I know sometimes it can be a little bit, ooh, Christmas is literally around the corner, but it is. Within a week, we can almost say it's Christmas next month. So it's one of those things where it's my favourite craft to do, but I like to play with Minecraft Studio. And what I found recently is using Minecraft Studio in ways of which I would traditionally have done what I would do this time for crafting has changed what I do. So basically the software has helped me a lot because the type of cards, the type of projects that I would make, I now use that to aid me with it. So I'm going to share with you actually what I've been doing, because we've had some fabulous products lately from Highlight Crafts on the channel on Create and Craft, and of course here on our website. So I've been playing with a few things and putting them together. Now there is a fabulous USB, and it is called At Christmas Time. No, it's Design Your Own Christmas Rice Papers, and it was on at Christmas time. And that particular USB was one of my favourite ones that we've ever had out. Festive favourite, but USB's overall one of my very favourites. And I want to share some content with you and some creations that you can do with it. And I think you'll find yourself using this in many different ways as to which I'm going to do it. But I think it's also nice to introduce a different look and feel. I tend to work a lot, some of you may know, with mixed media, so paints and adhesives, sprays and glues. And I think saying Minecraft Studio brings other elements into your creativity is okay, but actually seeing that is a whole lot different. So I think actually being able to share that with you is quite important, because you can then see just how you can utilize and how valuable the actual software is to you. So I'm going to take you over to the computer and we're going to make our first paper. So I'm using, in this one here, I've dragged it onto my USB, but the artwork is from the Design Your Own Christmas Rice Paper USB. Now, it doesn't have to be rice papers that you're creating, it could be anything. You've got some beautiful papers in here to start you off with that are already pre-made with all of the elements in there. And again, the price is incredible on this. If you're wanting the USB, or of course downloads, that is the place to go to have a look. And the link will be in the description of the video as well, so do check that out once you finish watching, or go and have a look and come back. It's entirely up to you. But look at these details that you're getting. They're absolutely incredible. And again, I love the themes with these USBs, and this one in particular because it starts off with those really nostalgic warmth of Christmas colours that I instantly think of whenever I think about Christmas. I think it maybe depends on sometimes what you grew up with or your surroundings that really relate to you what Christmas is or what Christmas means to you. So with this one, it allows me to have that therapeutic, satisfying side of crafting, because it's something as well that I thoroughly enjoy. That's Christmas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a backing paper. So our pre-constructed rice papers are fabulous. But we're going to make one. We'll make one from scratch. So I'm going to go straight back into my artwork and into our backing papers. Now on here, loads of which we can choose from, a few in different configurations and assortments, but I'm going to utilize one of different colorways. I'm just going to have a look through here on my index of what we've actually got and what we can play with. Here is all of these. You've got patterns, you've got repetitive pattern, you've got texture and scenery. I'm liking the look of this one up here, actually, number 39. So let's grab that one out to have a look at it. Yeah, this one here. You can see there's so much space left for you to add your own elements. And then on the last page there is where you've got all additional textures and colors. So all the foundations for a beautiful backing paper or rice paper are given you in one folder. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see all of our edges. There we go. Now on this particular design, what I'm wanting to do is create a paper that's going to fit the Craftmaster Cracker die. So I want to bring in an image, and let's have a look. So going back into our artwork, I'm going to go right into embellishments. And the particular figure that I want to use, I'm going to look at all of these to play with. I'm going to choose the Father Christmas. And I think I'm going to work with this one here that's building and making and painting a toy. And I know that the middle section of my die, and this will become clear throughout the video, the middle section of my die, I need to make this Santa Claus around about 8 centimeters high. So I'm going to take it back to 8 in centimeter form, and I can see there it's just over 8 centimeters in height, and it wants to be roughly in the middle. So I know that's in the right place, but also that could get lost a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of colour behind there. And one of the easiest ways to do this, I find, is I've just grabbed any image or any paper. I'm just going to take a digital punch. I'm going to get the circular punch on here. Just quickly crop the inner of that design out. It could have been literally any image completely. I'm going to pop that right on top of the Father Christmas, and then select the Father Christmas and bring it to the front. So we've got this almost like white halo around him at the moment, which doesn't look very realistic. So if we enlarge it, let's have a look, drag it up from that corner, and then go into our effects. We can use a softer edges function on a circular motion. There we go. So we can actually make him have like a white haze around him. Now that makes the image just instantly stand proud from the rest of the design, which is what we wanted to go for, because I don't want him to be blurred in at all. So let's have a look at some of our other papers that we've got in here. So within artwork, you've got backing papers, you've got textures. Let's have a little look through the textures of what we've got in there. We've got loads of frosted elements, loads of brickwork. You've got aged wood paneling, but I think I want a repetitive design. Now in here, we've got some tartans, which will work really, really well for this. So this one here, let's particularly use that one. I'm going to delete this small punch off because we don't need that anymore. And I want to select out just part of this image to create a border that'll sit at the top and bottom of the page. So if I use the scissors, I want to not use the red part, but all this sort of like creamy strip that runs through the center. I'm going to select that. Here we go. I'm using the scissors just to crop that particular strip out of there. Let's keep that. I'm going to rotate it around. It'll probably be about 315 degrees. There we go. So let's pop that on here. I'm just going to bring the brightness of that up a little bit because it seems a bit dull. There we go. So just enlarge it. There we go. I'm going to copy and paste just to duplicate that. So we've got that now at either end of our design. I will trim the ends off of here, but it's just going to add a border to our actual page. So I've used the backing paper, changed the direction and slightly brought up the brightness a little bit. It's going to allow us to play with our image. So in the artwork, I'm going to go to the florals and I'm going to select one of the poinsettias to use. These are absolutely beautiful, but as well the red in this is a little bit citrusy in comparison to the ones we've got here. So just putting the saturation down ever so slightly adds a hint or a little trickle of a black tone running through it, gives it an undertone to actually match with the rest of that there. You could take it all the way through so it's a bit further, which looks quite nice. So let's bring in some more of our florals. I'm going to bring some berries in here. I'm going to make the image slightly bigger as we're working with it so we can see in detail what we're creating. If I rotate these berries round, scale them down ever so slightly, and I'm going to duplicate this one here, and then let's flip that horizontally. There we go. I'm going to bring in that first floral, bring it to the front. Now those berries are quite overpowering, so if we go to the opacity and take those right down, it now gets that rice paper look and feel where everything's slightly lapping over one another. I bring the ribbon back to the front, so that's still edging off that design, but you can see there straight away that we're starting to corner our images and build up and play with the artwork. I'm actually going to make that slightly less opaque just so it still stands out a little bit because we don't want them actually to get lost. There we go, and maybe just increase the size of that flower. There we are, I think that's much better. So let's go into our other florals. We've got our holly. So we can make a bundle of holly down in the corner. I think those two would look right naturally facing that way. We'll bring the sprig a bit further up. And essentially right now I'm using all of those individual files, all those individual elements to be able to create one whole bespoke design. And it was only through last year, mid last year, when I was actually creating some projects on Microsoft Studio. I was very new to the software. I learned so much in that time, but I was making a paper and realized that I was essentially creating a rice paper, which I'd never done before. And when I'd actually created that paper, went straight through to our graphics department here and was like, we need to teach people how to do this. I've never even thought about it. And that's where the whole design your own rice papers came from, because initially there was nothing like that out there. You bought rice papers as they were. You could make them if you wanted to, with imagery, but this was all designed to be rice paper styled content. So it just makes them naturally flow. So I'm going to bring that to the front. And let's have a look here. Now we've got a tree that's standing in this design. So if I go to, let's have a look. If I go to florals, I think we've either got some trees in here. Yes, we do. We've got a large forest tree. I think that will work well. So I'm going to take the saturation down ever so slightly of that tree. It's a little bit citrusy. There we are. See how it's just made that slight change. And let's bring the border to the front. There we go. Now with this design, I'm quite happy with how it is at the moment, with how it's turning out. So if we go right over the top of this, even further actually, because I've not selected all of it, make it super teeny tiny. There we go, select the whole thing. So I've grouped it all as one piece. And just to test that, if I move it to the side, I can see nothing's left behind. And if we bring in digital punch, let's use our basic shapes. Use the rectangle, make it to an A4 page, spread that all the way across. There we go. And keep the inner. We now have our paper designed. You've designed it yourself. If you want to, you can still go in, of course, and play with the colorways. Maybe you wanted to do the whole thing, maybe slight sepia tone. It's like a really vintage aged Christmas scrapbook. That also works really, really nicely as well. But what I've done is I'm going to take you to my printout here, because I actually printed out the design from the actual software itself, and I've printed this onto 240 GSM paper. Now what I'm going to do once I've actually got this out, I'm going to use the die. So I'm going to go into my Craftmaster cracker die. Here we go. And you can see we've got the tabs down the side. We've got all of the detailing of all of this in here, but I'm not going to be using that. I'm just going to use the cracker for this. Okay. So all of that is printed accurately. You notice as well where we put that halo in around the Father Christmas, that white haze has just given that image a lift. It's boosted it off. It added a white colour background and it's really elevated all of those tones in there. So I'm going to put the die directly on top of our cracker here. There we go. And then what I've got here is I've got all of these diamond shapes. I'm going to put my tape in those areas because that paper is going to fall out anyway. So it'll secure the die in place, but it won't affect any of our overall image. So put a little bit on that side, and then let's have a look. I'm going to put a little bit on that side as well. So I'm going to pop this straight through into my die cutting machine. And this is really, really satisfying. Making crackers is one of my favourite Christmas crafts. That and wreath making are just my favourites. I think they're one of the most interactive ones. You know, the crackers, they're so inexpensive to produce once you've printed them. They're a cracker, they're made within seconds. It's crazy. I'm gonna grab some ribbon. I'm not gonna throw it though. So I've grabbed some ribbon, and then let's have a look. I'm just gonna trim to roughly about 40 centimetre strips. They should be long enough. They could be much shorter though. So what I'm going to do is go to my die, which has put all of that out beautifully. And then let's take that out from here. Just get any of those little diamonds out that haven't popped out straight away. And straight away what that has done is created that fabulous cracker outline for us. So now you can see all of that is ready to be transformed into a cracker. So I'm going to add a little bit of red liner tape. Let's just find the end here. There we go. A little bit of red liner on those tabs. Now I'm going edge to edge with those. You could use wet glue, but it really is a personal choice. I prefer to use red liner tape when making crackers. I know out there a lot of crafters choose to not use tape because it can dry out, I think over the space of years, but these are going to be used within a few months. So it really doesn't matter all that much, and I've never had an issue with it personally, but if anyone was to ask, I would recommend using red liner. Now what I'm going to do then is just kill this center part here with my fingers and thumbs just to get some curvature in the cardstock. We don't want to perforate it and actually crease it. That there will just give us what we need. So then I'm just going to take off the red liner tape back in from the top and match the top one up first. So the tab goes directly underneath, bring the two edges together and pinch. Now I'm then going to do the middle section. There we go. So again, tape off that little backing, and then I'm also going to do the end one at the same time because it'll start to tuck itself in. So let's match up that one, perfect, and then the end one. So simple and easy to put together. I'm just going to use a brush, or you could use a ruler to go inside and just push against my hand here, because then what that does is reinforces that. So now you can see this Father Christmas felt in the center of where these two sections are. So let's bring it in some ribbon. And you can find, of course, the die to create the cracker over at the Highlight Crafts website, so head over there to find it. Let's tie that one first. There we go. And then we'll do this one down here. You could use twine or string or anything, and you could even make your own cracker box as well, which would just look amazing. So then I'm going to tie this off in a bow. And it takes you literally just a minute or so to create a cracker. You can do full box sets in less than an hour, and then you can make and sell with them, which is just amazing. So I'm just going to trim the edges of this ribbon off. There we go. I've used like a gold mesh one for this because I thought it would look quite nice, because I've gone with a traditional theme, but I would use really whatever is suited to the style that you're working with. I tend to always have, I mean, we've always had fairly traditional Christmases at home. The tree that's built up from decorations from all over the years. Every now and again there's a bit of a theme, but this one would work quite well within our house. But you can see there, we've got the borders that we added onto the image at the start. We've then got our central design, then it all wraps around. Now you could make it fully repeatable so you don't get a line at the back if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. But for me, when they're sat in a box together, all bunched up, they would just look brilliant, and they're a really good size as well. You can fit a gift in here, you can put the snaps in them, but using Minecraft Studio along with that cracker die has enabled us to create our very own cracker. I just love it. I think it's fabulous, and again, hundreds can be made in a day, and it's such a great way to craft. So we're going to do something a bit different for our next project. I'm just going to pop my die away. Let's get rid of some, and look at the waste. That's the only waste from that die, which is just amazing, especially from an A4 die as well. And not to mention the little diamond bits, but you could actually use those because they're perfectly cut. So you could use them to make florals with. So I'm going to save them on the side. So let's put our dies together with our paper. Now, rice paper, of course, is a big part of my crafting journey. It's something I share with you quite frequently on Create and Craft, and I'm usually doing something along the lines of rice paper crafting here at the office. So I thought bringing that into this is a must, because for one, the content is designed in the style of rice paper images, but as well, this also allows me to cover a few tips and techniques I've learned along the way with crafting on glassware and rice paper, and how to get the best results from it. So, of course, everything I do within the next project, you could take and do it as a card, but you could use the design for mixed media. So I'm going to share with you exactly how we do it. Now, over onto the computer, the full design that I've got at the moment, you can then go ahead and save this. So I could go to save as and save it along with my other content. And that way, then you've got your own archive of artwork that you don't necessarily have to print straight away, but you can save it for whenever you're ready to use it. So I'm going to go straight to new, because we can still keep out multiple projects as we're crafting. And I'm going to go into, let's have a look here. I'm going to start by going into our floral elements. I want to build a wreath, because I mentioned cracker making and wreath making are two of what I think are some of the most popular things to be doing at Christmas. Sorry to excuse me. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this sprig from a spruce tree, and I'm going to copy and paste it at the size it is, flip it round vertically, and then I'm going to rotate that background to create like a perfect crescent or an arch. Now I'm looking at that design and straight away thinking, love the style of the imagery, but the green is a little bit zesty for me. Of course, it would work well if you're going with different styles of images, but I'm going to group it together and then go into the effects, take the saturation down slightly, and you can play with the colour if you want a dried sort of look. But if I take the saturation down ever so slightly, put the brightness up, it's taken that hint of the zestiness away, but added that forest green, which I really, really like. So I'm going to scale this down, and then let's just ungroup that to get this a little bit more rounded. There we go. Because I want this to then be able to create a circle. So I'm going to group it, I'm going to copy and paste. Now with the copied and pasted one, I'm going to flip it horizontally, and then I can rotate that round, and it will then eventually be able to create a wreath. Now you could go around and do 4 all together, you know, overlap them with one another. We could have a look and see what that's going to look like. And then paste another one down here and rotate that round. So you can see you could do a wreath made up like this, but I'm going to delete those ones off because I quite like it having sort of opening elements to it. Let's build and elaborate on them though ever so slightly. So if we're going to zoom in on here, I'm going to go into those florals again. We've got little sprigs, that one's really cute, and actually, I like the look of that one as well. So I'm going to work on the outer edge of this. So I'm going to put 2 of them on this side. And then once I've scaled the particular image down that I'm using, I tend to copy and paste from that one, because then I don't have to resize the image each time. Let's flip that horizontally, just rotate that round a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to get some, let's do a few more of those. Grab that one, paste, and pop that into the center. So let's use, I'm going to keep going with this, just using this particular file. Sorry, do excuse me, I'm just going to have a quick drink because I just realised how much I'm talking. There we go. So, with our sprigs, I'm going to paste a few more of those out, flip that one round vertically, and what I'm essentially trying to do is fill out all of those little gapped areas. There's plenty of fillers in here, so the actual spruce is broken down into smaller elements. Again, I'm going to copy and paste from this one, so I'm going to change it first, just to take the saturation down so it's a bit darker. And then I think that's actually a little bit too dark, but I'll bring the brightness up. Let's have a look, take a bit of saturation out. And then if I scale this down, I'm going to copy and paste it to bring it around this side. So this is like true building, but with Minecraft Studio. So from scratch, making your very own image. I'm not going to actually add anything to this one. So I think if I decorate all of that, we could just duplicate it at the end and see if that works. So let's build up just this one side for now. I'm going to bring, let's have a look, send that to the back. Have that there. And then paste another one. Rotate it round. And this is the part where you can just sit and enjoy the beauty of the software and allow it to just continue and flow. Because there never really is a point where a project is finished. It's just until you've decided to stop adding to it. So ideally, you can look at it, take a step back, think, is it looking right? Because every process is reversible. You can't actually do anything wrong on Minecraft Studio. Because like I say, every single step you can go back, and it's digital format. You're not actually using anything in terms of adhesives or mediums that you can't remove once you've placed down. So you've got that level of security with something like this. Especially if you're like anything like me and sometimes get a bit anxious about how your project's turning out or what it's going to look like once it's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm happy with that. So I'm going to group all of those together. Again, you can see all those layers there. So if we group that and copy it, I'm going to paste it. So now I've got 2 of them. If we make it vertical and flip it horizontal, we've then got them matching. So it started to instantly fill out what is becoming a wreath. So in here we've got loads of little twig elements I think I saw earlier. Yeah, these ones. So I'm going to take the brightness of that down ever so slightly so they stand out more. And let's start to build these in and rotate them. So angular, set those in, send them to the back, copy and paste. Now these will just add that little natural look to this. And with a wreath, you always find, I don't know if you've ever made wreaths before, but you're always adding bits and treating them as fillers. There's always a gap. It's like literally when you put the tree up and you stand back and you look at it, and I don't know about you, but for probably at least a couple of days, if not a week, I'm sat in my living room looking at it, and then I'll always move something around. This is literally that process, because all I'm doing is looking and thinking, right, okay, now I've created a space there that wasn't there originally, and now need to fill it. But I'm still going to leave a lot of open white space throughout here, just the areas I think could really utilise having some foliage put into it. So I'm going to bring one last piece for this side and pop it here, and again send that to the back, and then let's duplicate it one last time, which is from here. So I'm going to flip that horizontally and have that one then somewhere. Let's have a look, have it, flip it vertically and have it in here. Perfect. I'll send it to the back. So now our wreath's really starting to come to life. I want to add a focal point to it. So there's loads of things we could choose. We could have a lantern sat in the middle with some florals built up around it. We've got the hat. And notice as well, with this type of artwork, it's all the same style. So we use particular artist work that you can make and sell with, but also it fits within the same theme. So when you're creating your designs, there's nothing that doesn't look right to the eye. Now, if you wanted to add something that's quite light in tone, but you feel like it's disappearing a little bit, you could go straight into your effects here and create a blurred radius around it. So just within all of these drop-down functions, the blur radius, then we'll add a drop shadow behind the whole thing so it really stands out. It just gives it that element of three-dimensional look and feel without only having to print out in one piece. So I'm going to grab, I think, one of the lanterns, this one here. So scroll that down a little bit. I'm going to keep it sat on the top of all of my project. Quite like that in the middle of there. And then we've got little candy canes as well. So I'm going to bring some of these in. I'm going to scale that down. I can get rid of these ones here for now. Let's clear the space and get rid of that. If I zoom right in, here we go. I can start to place these candy canes in at random intervals. So I'm going to keep them all facing the same direction. But I just thought seeing them then they would look nice. It's just little decorations. I'm going to slightly change the angle that they're all placed at so they don't look too repetitive. And keep them all the same size as well, because I imagine if you were to have bought a wreath making kit or something, all of these probably would be the same size. So let's put some of those at the top. I'm just dotting them all the way around, but now I've added this touch of red which complements the berries from the centre. I'm now thinking I need it in another form. So if I just paste out a few more of those candy canes, I think that is probably enough. I'm going to go to the floral section. Now there's so many different ones. I love these that are built up with an array of different elements. And as well, if you're looking at any of these and thinking, I really want to cut those out, but it's going to take me forever. If you were to select, okay, let me just grab a new page. If you were to take the grid and ruler off so you can just see it's slightly easier, and grab the poinsettia out. There's quite a bit of snipping involved with this one, like in your holly, getting all of the curves right. If you were, and if you have, a scan and cut, if you take the brightness right down like that and print that out, scan that into your scan and cut, and then scan in the printed version, it will create an SVG file for it. And I've been doing it so much this week with loads of the projects that I'm working on. It saved me so much time. But even if that was just what you wanted to use your scan and cut for over the festive period, it is amazing, especially if you're creating decoupage and cards with. So it obviously keeping that poinsettia in the exact same place on your paper is key, because then it will line up. But yeah, a little tip there. I think we've shared it with you previously, but if you've not seen that, it's always great to know. So with this, I'm just going to bring the brightness up a little bit, maybe take the saturation down slightly. And then I'm going to copy and paste these. Just rotate them around a little bit. So we've got some more going off. And I'm going to duplicate that smaller one. And then let's copy and paste the big flower. Do another one of those down here. And it is literally like a creative masterpiece that you're actually doing, because all of this, nobody else has this exact configuration or assortment of images in the same way that you do. So it's very unique to you. So what I'm going to do is bring that down, just rotate that around so it's not the same angle. And I'm quite happy with how that is. Now, in my project, I'm going to group all of this together because I want to size it accurately. Now, the plate that I want to adhere this to, is just wider than an A4. So I know if I make this as big as we can go in A4 size, there we are, that way there, you could then print that, and I know it's going to be A4, but a little tip as well, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to make the background of my project sheet here transparent. So we're going to transparent and set. So I've set that as a transparent background. If we were then to go into save as and go into the USB and save this as a PNG file, I'm going to save it as Pro Quality, and I'm going to save it just as wreath. Okay, so save that, let it do its thing. I've saved it onto a USB, and then I'm going to grab a new page completely, take the grid and ruler off, and if I go into, let's have a look here, we go into that USB, it is there, our wreath is here for us to use. So drag that out, it is now a PNG file on its own. So if we were to crop this, but first make it even bigger, so let's make it so that it's as tall as A4, but obviously that wouldn't fit on an A4 to print. We could copy and paste it. So I'm going to duplicate the image itself. If we crop the top one inwards halfway, like that, and then the bottom one, if we crop that the opposite way, like this, we create two exact halves of one file. So then I could drag that one in and print that one at A4, take it off, and then print that at A4, and then I can stick them back together on whatever surface it is I'm covering, whether it's a big cushion cover or a really big plate, and you can then marry that back up, just with, of course, the join, which will disappear with rice paper, and that way you can print A3 but on an A4 printer. So a cute little tip, but one that I have found to be extremely helpful, and then I've not had to invest in an A3 printer, because anything you do, you can do it on an A4 printer. You don't even have to worry about it. So what I'm going to do now is I've taken rice paper. Now you'll be able to find the rice paper, of course, on the Highlight Crafts website. You get 20 sheets of this in a pack. It is phenomenal stuff. Now with your rice paper, some rice papers out there have lots of slumps in it, and what that is it's build-up of the pith of the cotton plant, which creates ridges and a textured surface, which means that as you're running your rice paper through a printer, it could create issues. This particular rice paper is extremely smooth and streamlined. You don't have one lump or bump in here. It's durable, but at the same time, it can still be manipulated into the most intricate surfaces with very little difficulty. So what I've done with that is I've used my largest die that I had in a circle and cut it out. If you wanted to, you could go straight round with a brush. So I'm just going to grab a brush here. I've dipped it in some water. You could go straight round over the edge and you could tear it like this. And that would then allow you to get that beautiful feathered edge that is created by adding just water to rice paper. And as it tears away, you get that really buffered edge here. So if we were just to go around here, I don't go right up to the design, but you can get fairly close and then just tear that away. That then naturally all just comes away, because of course whilst it's dry, if you tear it, it's just going to tear in any random angle. But when you add in your water on it, it will only tear in the direction of where the water is placed. So again, interesting ways. If you don't like using scissors, great way to use it. If you don't have a die machine, other tip to use. If you don't have an SVG machine, you can just use your hands. It's entirely up to you. Now what I'm going to use is a few products. I'm going to bring in, let's have a look here. I'm going to bring in a mylar sheet just to protect my craft mat, and I'm going to apply my adhesive to the actual front of our image here. So I'm going to grab a large flat brush, and I'm going to take the Cadence Decoupage Plus glue. Now this is the 90ml matte bottle. This is fabulous if you're wanting to adhere your rice papers to glassware, such as I am with this glass plate, or onto cardstock, construction board, styrofoam, plastic, metal. It's not machine washable, but it will be permanent on the surface depending on what you're doing with it. So if you're wanting to put your project through the washing machine afterwards, sorry, not the washing machine, because you won't want to put a glass plate in the washing machine. If you were going to put it in the dishwasher, you could do with the Cadence napkin glue. You might have a bit of a bad result if you're going to put this in the washing machine. So definitely not recommending to do that. But if you painted maybe a plant pot, or you've rice papered an ornament for the garden and you wanted to go outside, use the napkin glue. But this one, is again great if you are a Minecraft Studio user and you want to bring it into all your paper crafting as well. So I'm going to go straight into the pot, and I'm going to grab my brush, and I'm going to go straight in and take out a fair amount, but just to cover the whole surface of this rice paper. So I'm going to go all the way over the top. Here we go. And you don't want any lumps or bumps within your paper. You want it to be nice and smooth. You don't want a big blob of glue. Then I'm just going to set my brush to one side. I'm going to bring the plate in, but I'm just going to sit the plate on some tape here, just so it can be standing away from my mat. So I've stood it on some foam roll, and then I'm going to face it with the image side facing directly down onto the back of our glass plate. Now before that is stuck in place, I'm just going to have a quick look around just to make sure it's all in the right place. Have a look from the front. Yep, I'm quite happy with it. So I'm going to grab a perfectly dry sponge. This has no product on it. And I'm going to sponge this all into place. Okay, so we don't need to go back in with any more product, any heavyweight product, and start to build this up. I'm literally just going around with my sponge. And this will then not add any paint or any adhesive to the clear glass. It will just allow it all to go into place. Now what I'm then going to do is bring my heat gun in just to dry this off. It should only take probably about just less than a minute. So I'm going to bring my heat gun in, get to temperature. Here we go. So that is now, I can already start to feel it. It's starting to go tacky, and then it will go smooth and matte. And then what we want to do is just run back over the back of this with one layer of glue, and then we can add some paint into it. So all the way around the edges, here we are. And then I'm going to go back into my glue. And then I'm going to grab all of this out. Now then we can go in and spread it around. The reason why you want to do that quick drying process first after you've sponged it is you don't want any of your inks to bleed. Now the glue has a much more lower water content, so will prevent that from happening. But if you were to oversaturate, so add too much glue or start to spread it around whilst it was still wet, you could encourage the ink to start bleeding. So that will prevent that from happening. So then I'm going to go back in with our heat gun and just dry this off briefly. So I'm going to go all the way around the edges because that's definitely where I want to get this sealed first. Here we are. But this could be onto coasters, it could be onto glass coasters or MDF ones. You could be doing this onto a vase for your Christmas flowers or a plant pot or as a gift. But think about if you've been already making your Christmas cards, or maybe you're thinking, well, this Christmas I want to get organised and actually make some gifts. This is the perfect USB to do that with because it will allow you to create the present, but not only the present, the wrapping paper, the card, the gift tag, the box, the whole lot that goes with it. So I'm just going to continue to carry this round with my heat gun. Here we are. So this really does combine the both of them. So whether you're wanting to do paper craft or more of your home decor stuff. Now what I'm going to do is sit that brush in some water because I don't want it to dry out. Put the lid back on my product. And then I'm going to grab some of the Cadence hybrid acrylic in the shade white. Now we do these paints in sets of 5s, do them in different bundles. You may already have some. But white is the best colour to use on the back of rice paper as it will bring all of the colour out nicely. So I'm going to use a flat brush to apply this. So I'm going to take that all the way around the edges. So I'm painting all over the back of this. So the whole plate will be encased. Now the hybrid paint is waterproof, so because we've then sealed in our glue and rice paper with our paint, you could hand wash this. That would be absolutely fine, but you wouldn't want to submerge it and leave it over time as eventually it would then eat into the paint. So just going around the edges, and because we've not used the napkin glue, I'm just going to take my heat gun just to give that a quick blast off. Here we are, so we're building all onto the reverse of the plate at this point. And it's really exciting to think what's it going to look like, you know, how's it going to turn out. It is one of those where you can build up individual elements as well. You don't have to do it all as one big piece of rice paper like I've done. It really is quite fluid. You can be pretty creative with stuff like this. So I've just covered all of that plate. I'm just going to go around now with my heat gun. I'm just going to finish and put my brush in some water. Here we go, all the way around here. So I'm just going to dry this section off so I can pick it up and hold it. and the same on the other side. And as well, there is hundreds of elements on this USB for you to be using. So if I just turn this around, you'll see we have a beautifully, I'm going to make sure it's the right way, a beautifully decorated plate. How gorgeous is that? So we've got all of the design in there. I'm going to show it to the front so you can see it at the front there. But how exquisite is that? It's got all of that detail, all of the design on here, utilizing that rice paper USB onto printable rice paper. Again, this could be an easel card, it could be the top of a cake, it could be absolutely anything in the way that you're wanting to work with your design. So we've done our plate, we've also done our set of crackers as well. So within here, we've covered loads of different things, but allowing you to play with the USB, which is at an amazing price, so go and check that out. But doing things like crackers, plates, bunting, all of your table sets, your trimmings and place settings, all of those decorations are all covered on this USB, and get it while it's at an amazing price, because you never usually see Christmas things discounted in the run up to Christmas. It's usually after Christmas. So take advantage of it while you can do. But thank you so much for joining me here today for your free monthly class from Minecraft Studio. The link will be in the description of the video of all things used, and you can go straight to the website, find this, the download, and everything else that Highlight Crafts has to offer. But thank you ever so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notification of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.